Hello Madina. In this video I'm going to give you feedback to last week's summary. So let's begin. In a short series of videos on YouTube called This is My Greatest Advice to You, Jeff Bezos, the creator of Amazon. Okay, you've included the title, the name of the speaker, discusses. Remember how we said that we want to make the first sentence more argumentative. So a verb like argues that will do better. Claims that, asserts that, argues that. Because even if this video is very descriptive, but we still want to look, even if there is no explicit argument, we can look for an implied argument, right? Because this is what the rubric at the end of the exam in the listening assessment, this is what the rubric expects you to do. You need to state the first idea in an argumentative way. So argues that, and then what? Well, how would you finish the sentence? Argues that what? Successful, in order to be successful, entrepreneurs need to follow certain rules or something like that, right? Or argues that the tips he gives to future entrepreneurs are important for their success. So this is an argumentative way of putting the first sentence. Okay. He mentioned, okay, so here we're talking about what he's taught, what the tips, right? So that's good that you've summarized them. But remember, we use a present tense here. He mentions or he discusses 8 tips, not types, but tips, or he gives advice, 8 pieces of advice, or because types is a type of what, right? Now here you can mention them in one sentence, that's fine, but later on you still have to repeat them. Manage your time, find your calling, be resourceful, have a dream. So instead of wasting the space, you can just go straight and use cohesive devices. The first tip Bezos mentions is the importance of managing your time. Secondly, Bezos recommends to future business entrepreneurs to find their calling because, and then you will expand on each one a little bit, right? Each of these should be in a separate sentence, and you can expand to explain why these tips are important, and that should be your essay, right? Basically, you have the plan here, you have all these supporting ideas, now you need to make a sentence out of each of them. Okay, so here when you talk about the passion, that's very good, right? So this would be the passion one. Where is that? Have a dream, right? So here we're also talking about the dream. So this should be your paragraph. These are the supporting ideas. The different tips are the supporting ideas. Now, here when you say the speaker supports his ideas with examples of personal life, remember we try to stay away from examples, right? In this paragraph, in the summary, we do not include examples. So don't even mention examples from personal life. Instead, focus on the ideas. So here, when people get overscheduled, they are out of control. That would be manage your time, right? So the first tip that Bezos mentions is the importance of managing your time, because when people get overscheduled, they are being out of control, right? So that's how you combine them. Secondly, Bezos recommends that you need to find your calling. Expand a little bit. Thirdly, a young entrepreneur or a successful business owner needs to be resourceful because of blah blah blah. For a fourth tip that Bezos mentions is the importance of having a dream, which gives purpose and direction. So you see, you mention those tips and then expand a little bit. That's how you need to do it. Okay. So you've done this partly here, but there's a lot of things that you do not need in this for a summary. So this is very good. You can tie that to time management. I think this is you can be. I'm not sure where the flexibility and the freedom of movement comes in. Is it when you manage your time better, you're more free? I'm not very sure. After you have a job, you can have a career. I'm not very sure what this is. Here, is that connected to find your calling? Maybe he was talking about your career should be based on your calling. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, this should be based on your calling, on your passion, not simply for a paycheck. But after you have a job, you can have a or you can have a career. I'm not very sure. This is a bit unclear. I mean, what is this sentence saying? After you have a job, or you can have a career. Yeah, this is very unclear actually. But again, this needs to be tied to one of the tips, right? So again, I would say it could be like this. Tip 1 plus explanation. Tip 2 plus a little bit of explanation, and so on. And this should be your summary, right? That's what I would recommend for the whole paragraph. Now here the speaker had his models. Again, we do not need this. Again, his dream to open up. All of these are examples. All of that we do not need these examples. Instead, the summary should be about the supporting ideas, which are really the tips. You need to manage your time, you need to be resourceful, you need to have a dream, you need to choose to earn your success the hard way. You shouldn't simply rest on your old laurels and be content with your gifts. You should try and earn it the hard way. So for all of these, you will make a separate sentence and you will explain a little bit. Obviously, you only have 200 words, so that the word limit does not allow you to say too much, but briefly. Every tip should be a separate sentence with cohesive devices. Another tip he mentions, moreover, the speaker recommends, like that. Okay? So you don't end up with examples which we do not need in this summary. Examples and evidence should be included in the evidence paragraph, right? So this is for the evidence paragraph, not for this paragraph. In conclusion, he talks about okay, this is not grammatical. He talks about that. He talks about the need to have a bigger vision, but you cannot say he talks about that. Plus talks about is kind of like a simple reporting verb, so the reporting verb can be a little bit more expressive. He recommends, or he discusses, or he asserts, or something like that. And then you can say that. He claims that, he asserts that we need to have a bigger vision. Okay, and then it kind of ends abruptly. The conclusion should summarize the whole lecture. Again, if you go back to the rubric, you will see that the conclusion should recap the whole video, right? Whereas this one seems to be just one supporting idea, the idea about the bigger vision that we need to have. So the conclusion could be again about the importance of this advice. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, young entrepreneurs should follow these tips. Something like that. Again, this video does not really have a big argument, but we try to force ourselves to make an argument out of it. What is the implied argument, right? So the conclusion should summarize the whole video. Okay, so having watched the video, I understand what you're trying to say, but it does need to be a little bit more structured around these tips, because that's really the supporting idea. Supporting idea 1 is really the first advice. Supporting idea 2 is the second advice. So it's a very simple kind of structure, and you can follow that all the way to the end, right? Okay, so from now on I will be giving feedback on the evidence paragraph. This is the last feedback to a summary. So for the exam, obviously it's a take-home exam. You will have time to watch the video, write your notes, discuss your notes with your peers, and then come back home and write the summary. Make sure you have the rubric. Check all these bullet points in the rubric. What do you need to do to get a good grade? You need to have a good first sentence which is argumentative. The conclusion should summarize the whole video. There should be at least 3 or more supporting ideas very clearly stated. There should be reporting verbs. And again, try to use more expressive reporting verbs. Talks about, he talks that, first of all, that's not grammatical. He claims that, reporting verbs that are more meaningful. Talk is just say, talk, these are just kind of very simple, right? You need reporting verbs, you need cohesive devices. Furthermore, or another tip that Bezos mentions is blah blah blah, right? So all these things that the rubric mentions, make a checklist and make sure that you have them in your paragraph. Okay, so I hope this is helpful to you, Madina. Good luck.